So now we're going to go to the division that I would be pretty fair in saying is the one that's nearest and dearest in our hearts, the National League West. And Dave, you want to tell us what happened in the West and what to look for coming up?
Yes. Giants were coming in last year as defending World Series champions and defending NL West, but unfortunately, team Arizona Diamondbacks, they were, I guess, the team that came out of nowhere and had a great, consistent year. They ended up taking the NL West by 8 games over the Giants, who finished in second place, still had a winning record. See, it was very hard to believe considering the Giants' struggles offensively. They still were close 10 games above 500.
And
it's
they
a tribute to
went
the
into the final
pitching.
weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And so coming into this year, a new fresh start in 2012 in the National League West. The Giants, as far as they're concerned, they made a few moves in the offseason, getting Pagan and Cabrera, but their biggest, I guess, the players coming back, with their bats, in particular Freddie Sanchez and Buster Posey. Regarding the Arizona Diamondbacks, they upgraded their rotation, acquiring Trevor Cahill from the Oakland Athletics. And that team down south, the Dodgers, they're still, as of this moment, still on the verge of being sold. So stay tuned for that if you wish. So let's start with.
It's going to be important at some point because who sells them could buy.
Yeah, maybe another year, right? Go in limbo with that.
Yeah.
So let's ask some questions regarding the NL West this year. So the Giants, they're back, and it appears that they'll be healthier offensively, and for the most part, the pitching staff is intact. I'll ask you, Ben. I'll start with you. Do you think they have enough to rebound from a pretty much injured, anemic offensive year of last year?
I think they do. It's going to sound weird, but I think maybe last year was good for them. They definitely have to look at last year and say, here's some things that we need to work on. You go after winning a World Series and maybe you're kind of still on cloud 9 on opening day. And, I think they do. What's going to be really interesting to see if Lincecum can return to form. He's lost some velocity. He's not quite the pitcher he was. I think most people think Vogelsong will not rebound as strongly as he did last year. And I think they can recover, but it's going to take a lot of work.
I will say this, though, is that I would agree with you that Vogelsong isn't going to be the pitcher that he was last year. He was, for a bit, he was in Cy Young contention.
Yeah, first half of the season, yeah.
But I will say that Vogelsong, right, at least just based off of what we've seen in spring so far with the 2 starts he's had, I believe, so far, he still will come back and be a solid pitcher. He's not going to be the Cy Young contender that many Giants fans are hoping he will be, but he's not going to be a one-year wonder. He looks like he's solid. He looks ready to come back and become a legitimate and solid part of this rotation for a long-term time.
Absolutely. And Ben, sorry, you mentioned Tim Lincecum bouncing back. Thinking about him bouncing back, yeah, he had a losing record, but he pitched very well. You got to remember that he got almost none of the pitchers really. For Bumgarner, it was the worst statistically in terms of run support. But none of these guys were getting any run support, and that's really tough on the big 2 in terms of Lincecum and Kane. Because they're pitching so well and they keep losing because they're not getting any runs. So I think we got to, in terms of Lincecum bouncing back, yeah, it wasn't a Cy Young year, and they didn't go to the playoffs, but he had a losing record, but he still pitched very well. And
just to quickly add before we go to the next question, it seemed like the Giants and some of the players have come out and admitted that being under the spotlight, having the Showtime series, and then the pressure of repeating kind of got to them. And I think I was glad to hear that they came out and admitted it. I think Lincecum for once kind of admitted it, that the Giants, it was just a different spotlight, and now, and I think Bruce Bochy, the manager, has come out and said that without all those distractions, I think the Giants are going to be definitely more focused in game preparation for this upcoming year. And take away all those distractions of winning the World Series and whatnot, even though they do want that to happen again this year.
And I think, in terms of the distractions and all that, real quick, is that, they still are, especially the pitching staff, a relatively young team. I mean, they do have veterans, but they never experienced that kind of distractions. I mean, you can say, oh, well, that shouldn't have been an excuse. I mean, it shouldn't have been. But at the same time, they are a young team. They're a West Coast team. So they're not used to all this hype and all the distraction when they're coming back and playing a new season after winning the World Series. So I think that was, no one wants to admit it, but it definitely was a factor.
All right. Throwing it back to you, Tom. Will the Dodgers, do you think, will be a legitimate threat this year once they are sold?
Well, I think once they, even if they're not sold, right away, they can still be a threat in this division and still be a factor, because this is a team that has the Cy Young Award winner from last year, Clayton Kershaw, excellent. They have Chad Billingsley, Ted Lilly's, except he's reliable when he's, so they have their pitching staff isn't as good as the Giants, but it's still a good pitching staff. Not to mention, if Matt Kemp is like half or 3/4 of what he did last year, and Andre Ethier comes back healthy, he wasn't healthy last year, that's a very dangerous offense. So, I think the Dodgers could be a threat in this division. Everyone's kind of thinking, Giants, Diamondbacks off the bat. But you can't forget about the rest of these teams. And the Dodgers, I think, they have a great offense, good pitching with a good top two automatically with Kershaw and Billingsley. They could be something to reckon with, definitely.
Right. And, just to quickly add, Kemp, he wasn't satisfied. He wants to go 50-50 this year.
Yeah.
This guy is really ambitious. And the Dodgers are going to have a new closer with Javi Guerra. So maybe bullpen-wise, we'll see how the Dodgers pan out regarding that. Alex, let me ask you a question now. Our last question for the NL West. Do you think are the Diamondbacks and the Giants the clear front runners, or is this division wide open with improvements, for example, that like Colorado, the Rockies made?
I think every team in the division, and I don't think you'll ever hear about this, got better. Every team. The Diamondbacks got Cahill, obviously, and they added Kubel. The Giants have gotten at least better because they're healthy again. The Dodgers have made some good moves to make sure that they just solidify their pitching rotation.
Aaron Harang, I believe?
Yes, Harang is their key guy. The Rockies made some very clear moves, and they've set up some very nice jobs. They basically gave away Seth Smith and stole some prospects from the A's in a trade that could really come back and not only nip the A's in the butt, but make the Rockies look phenomenal. But not only that, the fact that the Padres went out and were able to get so many strong pieces for Matt Latos from the Reds, and then go out and make a very good trade to get Carlos Quentin from the White Sox and basically get him at a pretty good deal, all things considering how good he could be. There is so much talent right now in this division, both pitching-wise and the young hitters, that it's going to be fun. This is probably maybe not the most intriguing, but the most exciting division in all of baseball.
Any further comments? It's Ben?
I think the Padres are not ready to contend, and I think the Rockies are looking a little weak in the pitching department.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's always hard for them anyway in Coors Field. Their pitching is always going to be a question mark.
True. And the one legitimate pitcher they had, they did the smart thing and they traded him for about 3 other legitimate pitchers. So they've done some smart business moves. Again, how are they going to be able to hold out a consistently good year their whole time? Because everybody knows they have a run in them at some point during the season. Right. We haven't seen them go a whole year
and
at all.
Usually it's in September.
Right, but we haven't seen them go a whole year with a good run.
And we know last year, pretty much no one predicted Arizona would be the team that would win the NL West and pretty much take it from the beginning to the end. And I think this year for Arizona, everyone's going to be aware of the Diamondbacks now, even with their improvements. And I think this division, like you said, I don't think it'll be so one-sided. I think everyone's going to be in contention at one point, including the Giants. I see the Padres and the Rockies. They might be a little bit. They might fall behind eventually. But I think, like you said, well said as far as like it could be, the young, fresh talent. I think this division, as far as the up and comers, future players, it's a breath of fresh air, I believe, just with the possible excitement of the division.
And again, that's the part of baseball that you don't know, and that's what makes doing this fun for us. That's what makes following baseball such a fun game. Is that we're talking here in March, and you don't know what we say. We could look like the dumbest people in basically all of America by what we're saying. And that's the beauty of baseball, folks. For Thomas, Dave, and Ben, I'm Alex. Thank you for joining us on the Sports Junkies today. Have a nice day.